Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. And our report is all about softball. So, what is softball? Softball is a sport similar to baseball, and it is played with a larger ball on a smaller field and with only underhand pitches permitted. So, martial baseball pero dako-dako ang iyang bola, then smaller ang iyang space, ang area sa dulaanan, then ang pag-pitch kay pababa, pa-round siya, then pababa na pitch. Now, this is the history of softball. So, ang nag-invent sa softball kay si George Hancock. George Warren Hancock, March 1, 1861 to April 15, 1936. At the time, a reporter for Chicago Board of Trade invented the game of softball in 1887. The first game was played inside the Farragut Boat Club in Chicago. The first game of softball came from a football game between Yale and Harvard. So habang nagatanaw di ay si George Hancock yung mga ambot ng mga may amigo sa dula sa Yale ug sa Harvard, nakaisip si George Hancock na mag-invent ato na dula. Softball began in 1887 at the Farragut Boat Club in Chicago, USA, when George Hancock, a reporter for the Chicago Board of Trade, invented indoor baseball. By the spring of 1888, the game had spread outdoors. So, moto sa USA, Chicago, dito nagsugod ang softball sa 1887. By the time nag 1888 na siya sa outdoors. Pwede na siya dulang sa outdoors. Softball was invented in 1887 at the Farragut Club in Chicago. It is originated from a playful activity during a Harvard versus Yale football game, leading to George Hancock's suggestion for an indoor baseball. So, moto akong gingan ganina habang gatan-aw sila sa kaning football game sa Harvard versus Yale, moto nakahunong na si George Hancock na kani dulaon na to ning indoor baseball game. So, naman na unsay meaning sa unsay meaning sa softball na sa pangalan softball. So the name softball was given to the game in 1926. Gihatagan siya pangalan ng softball sa 1926 pa because the ball used to be soft. So ang bola diyan niya sa una kay dako siya na kanang humok, soft. However, in modern day usage, the balls are hard. So karon sa makita na to sa ubang dula sa softball, mga gahi-gahi na ang mga bola. So let's move on to the objectives of softball.
So the objectives of softball. The objective of softball is to score more runs than the opposing team by hitting the ball with a bat and running around a series of bases arranged in a diamond shape, while the opposing team tries to prevent runs by fielding and pitching the ball effectively.
Pitcher. The pitcher throws the ball to the batter from the pitching circle, aiming to strike out the batter or induce a hit that can be fielded by their teammates. Catcher. Catcher positioned behind the home plate. The catcher receives pitches from the pitcher and is responsible for catching any balls that the batter doesn't hit, as well as attempting to throw out base runners trying to steal. First baseman. First baseman plays near first base and is primarily responsible for fielding balls hit in their direction, as well as covering first base to receive throws from other infielders. Second baseman. Second baseman position between first and second base. The second baseman assists in the fielding ground ball hits in their area and covering second base during double play attempts. third baseman. Third baseman located near the third base. The third baseman fields balls hit down the third baseline and cover the third base during plays.
Shortstops. Plays between second and third base. The shortstop is often considered a team defensive leader and is responsible for fielding ground balls in the infield and covering second base and third place. Left fielder is positioned in left side. The left fielder is responsible for catching fly balls hit in their direction and throwing the ball back to the infield to prevent runners from advancing. Center field is plays in center field and typically the fastest outfielder. The center fielder covers a large area of outer field, catching fly balls and backing up their outfielders. And lastly, the right fielder. Right fielder position in right field. The right fielder has similar responsibility to the left fielder, catching fly balls hit in their direction and prevent base runners from advancing.
Softball is the dynamic sport played on a field with an infield and outfield. Players use specialized equipment like softball bats, gloves, protective gear, etc. Now, let's explore the details of the equipment and facilities used in a softball game.
Softballs are typically made of leather or synthetic materials. They have a smooth surface but with raised stitching. The texture of that stitching provides a tactile grip for pitchers and fielders, allowing them to better control the ball. Softball gloves come in various materials such as leather or synthetic leather. The outer surface of the glove is often smooth but may have textured areas for better grip. The interior may feature padding and lining materials that vary in texture, providing comfort and protection to the wearer. Softball bats are usually made of aluminum, composite materials, or wood. Aluminum and composite bats have smooth surfaces, with some branding or grip tape for added tactile feedback. Wooden bats have a natural texture and grain that can be felt through the hands when gripping the bat. Batting gloves are designed to provide grip and protection to the hands while batting. They are made of materials like leather or synthetic materials. The palm area often features textured patterns or materials for enhanced grip on the bat handle.
Softball helmets are made of durable materials like ABS plastic with foam padding on the interior for comfort and protection. The outer surface may have a smooth finish, while the interior padding provides a cushioning sensation against the head. Softball cleats have rubber or plastic studs on the outsole for traction on the field. The upper portion of the cleats may be made of synthetic materials or leather, providing varying textures and levels of flexibility. Protective gear worn by catchers and fielders often feature padded materials with textured surfaces for better grip and comfort. The straps and fasteners may have textured patterns for easy adjustment and secure fit.
Field of softball. So, mao din ni siya ang field of softball. Kung sa men or women na siya different distances between sa home plate and sa pitcher's plate. Then, same lang diapon sa side sa panang base to base, 60 feet. Then, yes, mao na.
And now, let's move on to the basic fundamental skills of softball.
Basic fundamental skills.
Number 1, hitting. It is the ability to bat the ball.
These skills requires hand-eye coordination and quick reflexes to hit the ball the second it to flew near the player.
Number 2, catching.
It is the ability of catching the ball without getting hurt and also positioning to throw the ball precisely. This enables a player to throw out the runner who attempts to advance the next base.
Number 3, throwing.
It is the ability to throw the ball accurately and quickly. It is a fundamental defensive skill a softball player must learn, which make it hard for the opposing team to advance in the next base.
Number 4, base running.
It is the ability to advance to the next base to return to the home base and score.
The first thing players should know is which way to run the bases. The bases are first base, second base, third base, and home plate. They are to be ran in that order around the infield. Players should be sure to touch each base as they pass them. Players may only overrun first base and home plate. Second and third base cannot be overrun. As soon as the batter's bat makes contact with the ball, that is when he or she immediately starts running to first base. The batter will stay on first base unless their coach tells them to keep running the bases or the umpire says it was a foul ball.
Foul ball!
When a player reaches home plate after touching all of the other bases, their team is awarded 1 run.
Number 5, fielding or the ground ball.
It is the ability to trap the ground ball repeatedly. It is an essential defensive skill because this makes it difficult for the opposing team to score.
Rules and regulations. The field. The first, second, third, and the home bases are typically situated in the corners of a diamond-shaped baseball field with distances of 90 feet and 60 feet respectively.
Teams. There are always 9 players on the pitch for each team, including pitcher, catcher, first baseman, second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, and 3 outfield players. Ang 3 outfield players kay nasa sa left and right and center. So mao na siya ang defensive positions.
Innings. A typical baseball game lasts 9 innings, with 1 inning consisting of batting and fielding turns for each team.
Batting the team at bat or the offensive team. Siya ang mubuna sa bola na gilabay sa pitcher na kalaban. Ug maiguna niya ang bola kay mudagan iya makauban hantod sa maabot sila sa ilang base. Hantod sa makascore sila. Pitching. The pitcher throws the ball towards home plate. Ang pitching kay kani siya mao ni siya ang mulabay sa batter. Run scored. Ang run scored kay kuntay ma-home run sa imong kauban kay mag-advance kag 4 ka bases. Din mudagan ka para makascore ka. Makadagan lang ka if naay mali ang kalaban.
Outs. The defensive team aims to secure 3 outs in an offensive bunt tagging a runner, striking out a hitter or catching a near ball before it hits the ground. Base running. A base runner must touch each base without being tagged out by the defensive player and can advance when the ball is struck into play or another runner's actions.
Substitutions kay mao ni siya ang kaning mga mag-swap og players kanang mga gipang kapoy or nabalian ba diraa.
Officials and their rules. Home plate umpire. Home plate umpires in softball games have the highest responsibility of determining whether a pitch is a ball, strike, or foul within a specific strike zone. The umpire must meticulously monitor each pitch, the number of balls and strikes with each batter, the pitcher's pitching technique, and follow all rules related to batters and catchers. Base umpire. It is an umpire oversees each base, deciding if runners are safe or out on plays. With first base umpires having the most challenging job due to close plays. It is also a umpire that is responsible for observing the base, ensuring runners are safe from attempting outs, determining if a throw beats them, observing base runners stealing bases, and ensuring that they are tagged out or picked up, and also observing pitchers for illegal pitching. Next is the line umpire. It is an umpire that hired to observe outfield balls and determine in fairness or foulness, although they may not be necessary in smaller league games. Next is, it is a white line determines fairness in baseball, while outside it is considered foul. Umpires also make the final decision on whether home runs bounce off the wall and are fair. Now let us proceed to the safety precautions of playing softball. Softball is a fun and exciting sport, but it's important to prioritize safety to prevent injuries. Here are the safety precautions you should consider before playing the game. First is wearing helmets, face masks, shin guards, and gloves is essential for preventing injuries. Second, ensure a hazard-free playing field. Properly maintain the softball field free from holes, debris, and slippery surfaces to avoid accidents. Third is to do warm-up exercises and stretching before games and practices to prevent muscle strains and injuries. Fourth is to use proper pitching and batting techniques to reduce arm and shoulder injuries. Fifth is to follow sliding rules for base to prevent collisions and injuries. The player should know when to slide, how to slide correctly, know the types of slide, and the consequences of not following the slide rules. Sixth is to stay hydrated and take breaks to prevent dehydration and heat-related illnesses during games and practices, especially in hot weather. Seventh, educate on softball injuries. You should have knowledge about sprains, strains, concussions, and proper responses. 8 is to promote sportsmanship and fair play. Prevent roughness and aggressive behavior to avoid injuries. 9 is to ensure a medical care availability. It's very important to have a trained personnel on hand for immediate injury care during games and practices. And lastly, inspect and maintain equipment. It's also important to ensure that the bats, balls, and protective gear is in good condition before playing.
That's all, and I hope you have learned something. Thank you.